Hi there, and welcome to the 8th official installment of the Sage Running Podcast. I'm super excited tonight. We have a very, very special guest on the show. He's a very busy man. His time's very precious. He's been a huge inspiration. I'm sure tons of you already follow him. If you don't, you need to go follow him after this podcast episode. But we're going to talk about videos. We're going to talk about running. We're going to talk about beer. We're going to talk about whatever. Really honored to have the Ginger Runner, Ethan Newberry, on the show. Ethan, welcome to the Sage Running Podcast.
Thanks, man. I think it's funny when Sage says that he's honored to have me on the show, because I'm like, I'm always in awe of you, man. Like, you're just an incredible athlete, high caliber. The balance is off. You are by far more worthy.
Oh, no. I mean, there's what you do, what you've done to the sport is revolutionary.
I've ruined it.
No, you've enhanced it, in my opinion. And then just the creative energy. And actually, we're going to talk about your podium finish, because I know you made a podium in a race recently. Yeah, so we're going to talk about that. I want to hear more about your background too. But no, there's lots of runners that run fast in the front of the pack. There's no other ginger runners, though.
Yeah, there's no other redhead runners out there. I am the only one.
And who make, not only just high quality storytelling films of, interesting stories in the sport, but also covering the full, media gamut from, product reviews and adventure runs, and just, having, your running contests and drinking beer. Doing all that, I think is just, it's been exciting to see, and it's a big inspiration for me as a really, really amateur video maker on YouTube, to, see what the high quality that comes out. Cause I know it takes a lot of time and dedication and energy, to do what you've done, but it's really amazing.
I really appreciate that, man. Seriously. I know we've talked a number of times, and we've hung out a number of times. We made the movie together and all that kind of stuff. So we always get to talk and chat, but I love following your channel, because you started doing stuff years ago. You've been doing this now for years, and seeing your evolution. And I still love that you still include music that you do. You're playing songs, you're having fun. I love that. Just like, you don't care, you just want to have some fun content and cool content. And as someone who is an elite runner, sponsored runner, making an impact on the sport that way, but yet you're still able to have fun and create videos, I appreciate it. You're the only person that's doing it, and I get so much enjoyment out of watching your stuff too. So this has already turned into just like the best bromance podcast.
Speaking of which, I got an Avery Old Jube here that I've been enjoying. It's very, very seasonal. Nice ale.
So jealous.
What have you been drinking recently?
An empty bottle of pineapple sculpin from Ballast Point. Empty because we drank it last night, and this is the last beer in the house because I was gone for a couple of days. But I am into the seasonals big time. The most recent one, I was drinking it in Seattle. It was a Jubileal, and they do a number of really awesome winter beers up there, some local breweries and stuff up there, and they're always incredibly alcoholic and thick. They're sipping beers, right? They're meant to warm you up at night on a cold night. So they're always really like heavy alcoholic beers. And I'm a big fan, but I just can't drink them a lot. I ended up waking up for my flight yesterday back from Seattle drunk. And I don't remember the last time I've been really like drunk. And I only had maybe 2 of these beers. They were late. They were at like 2 a.m. or something like that, but they're like 10 or 11%. And I just remember waking up going, what the hell did I drink last night? I felt like a lightweight because they grow them heavy up there. That's for sure.
Yeah. It's always interesting to mix it up. So yeah, let's talk about that. Big night last night. You did it was the film premiere of your latest film project a decade on with
Hmm.
Brian Morrison, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about how that went. And for those of you that don't know, it captures what I imagine is the story of Brian Morrison, who well, you tell him about it.
It's it's a story that everyone needs to know. It's one of the stories that I heard early on in ultra running. Like when I started, I read about it and I heard the rumors about it. The basically, it's the story starts in 2006. So Brian Morrison is this young runner, 27 years old, Seattle, Washington. At the same time that Scott Jurek is training, he is now a seven-time Western States winner, the only person to win seven consecutive Western States. And this is the rise of Scott Jurek. And Scott Jurek and Brian are training together a lot in Seattle. They're going out there, they're training, they're running together. And Scott looks at Brian and is like, "You could do this. Like, you could totally win Western States." And Brian's like, "Really? I've been training really hard, and I think that I can. If Scott thinks I can, maybe I can." So Brian Morrison gets into States in 2006, heads on down. Scott Jurek is his pacer, and he is in contention for the first 50, 60, 70 miles of the race. He's in like top 5, top 10. He's just being consistent. And then within the last 20 miles, Brian pushes. He pushes hard and takes over the lead. Between No Hands Bridge and the finish line, Brian pushes so hard because he thinks he's being chased down by second place. He's losing his lead. So he puts so much effort into the win that by the time he gets to the track, the last 200 meters, he's struggling to stand up. He can't. He's collapsing on the track. His crew is rushing to his aid. You know, they're picking him up. The stands are crazy loud. People are applauding, and he basically ends up crossing the finish line, but not under his own power. Within the last couple hundred yards, he was assisted. So it was determined that he was disqualified from the race. They count it as a did not finish at Roby Point, which is mile 98.9, 98.6, something like that. So technically, it's a did not finish. They didn't want to have the only disqualification be the person that crossed the finish line first, but was disqualified. So that was in 2006, and his story goes on. He came back in 2007, couldn't finish the race. Came back in 2008, it was canceled because of forest fires. 2009, couldn't finish the race. 10 years later, 2016, Brian comes back to Western States on a special ticket. Basically reached out to the Western States crew and was like, "Hey, I'd like to just get that buckle because it's been 10 years. I won't spoil anything. The movie it was hard to make because I want to do his story justice. It's such an amazing story of dedication to something, perseverance, heartbreak, and his family has stood by him, his crew has stood by him, and it's this amazing story. So it's something that I'd heard about, and I didn't realize that I had actually met Brian before because he owns and operates Fleet Feet Seattle, which is a running store up on Capitol Hill in Seattle, Washington, and I've been in there a number of times. And when I found out that he got into Western States, I reached out and was like, I would love to be a part of this and to try to document and tell your story as best as possible. So yeah, that's kind of how it came to be. And for the last few months, we've just been editing and trying to collect footage and all sorts of stuff. And the finished product was shown in Seattle on Monday night and to a sold out crowd with Brian. It was a night honoring Brian because he's done such amazing things for the Seattle and Northwest community for runners. And everyone came out to support, and it was magic. It was amazing how much that guy has influenced that scene, and people just gave him so much love. He deserved that night. It was pretty cool. It was really cool.
Oh man, that sounds really awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see it. Hopefully, will it be like in more film festivals? You're trying to, show it more throughout the world.
Yeah, we talked about like how do we want to. I believe in free content, 100%, and I think you also are kind of in that same vein, especially with the YouTube channel and stuff. I believe in anything that I create. I would much rather give it to people for free. Because I have the Patreon page, which you also have, that allows me to not have to like charge for every video. I don't want people to have to pay $10 or $15 to download a movie. I'd much rather be supported building these movies through Patreon and then being able to provide them all for free to the world. I think I don't know. I'm a big fan of free content. So in this case, it's the same. It's the same thing. This movie will be free. It'll be available on the YouTube page, and I want everyone to see it. I want everyone to see his story because I think it'll inspire anybody to get something completed. I do have an interest in like putting it into festivals and like outside of the trail running community, like in other sorts of festivals. I also would love to take it and do screenings places, you know, because the one in Seattle was just, it was so magical that I would love to try to recreate that for Brian and other locations and see if we can get Brian to travel and talk about the journey and stuff. I think it's really important. So yeah, I mean, I'm open to all of that. I have no initial plans to release it within the next like couple of weeks because I want to hold on to it. There's a couple things I want to make sure that I get, like I want to edit just a little bit more, get it nice and tight before I upload it. But yeah, I'm open to all of that. I'm really excited. That's the thing, is I'm so excited for people to see it, which I know you are. You know, like anytime you make a movie, I bet you're like, oh, I can't wait to upload this. You know, it's such a cool feeling. Yeah.
No, that's really awesome. And yeah, be sure to check out Ginger Runner's Patreon channel or Patreon page. We'll link to it in the description below this video for people watching on YouTube, as well as his other social media handles at the Ginger Runner. Twitter and Facebook, and then is it at Ethan Newberry Instagram?
Yeah, someone else had the Ginger Runner.
Yeah, the website. Yeah, but yeah, no, that's. I mean, that story is going to be. I think it's really epic and inspirational. And just meeting Brian briefly in person at Western States this year. He's just a great guy, all around quality dude, and yeah, it's really gonna, I think, motivate and inspire a lot of people, as well as
I hope so.
A really tight edit. Knowing it's coming from you, it's going to be a great edit and a great storytelling. So
you make an appearance.
Lots to look forward to. Oh, really?
A brief Sage appearance. Yeah.
Oh,
I had to make sure I included it just to give Sage some love.
Yeah. But okay, so let's rewind back in time. You're talking a lot about the Seattle running scene. You're talking a lot about Pacific Northwest beers. Let's talk. I want to hear about Little Ginger. I want to hear about where you grew up, where you're from. You know, what's shaped you into being the person you are today?
Grew up in the Northwest. Yeah, I was born in Portland, but grew up in Seattle. I moved to Seattle when I was very young and spent, that's where I grew up for sure. So my roots are in Seattle. I was really into soccer. Soccer is huge in the Northwest, and I was a big soccer player. That's where I was excelling the most in sports. I always wanted to be like an amazing athlete. I knew that I was not genetically gifted very early on to be a good athlete. But I still just loved competing and loved being in sports, and soccer was like my thing, because I was like, I think I can do soccer pretty well. And I was always kind of a bigger kid too. So soccer allowed me to kind of be tough without being a football player, and being able to get out there and get at the aggression and stuff like that. So as I was growing up, it was all soccer. And then when I was in high school, I started doing cross country and track. I say track, but the reality is I was doing javelin, which, you know, if there's javelin throwers out there, you guys are awesome, but I know you don't really do track. There's really no exercise involved in javelin. It's all form. It doesn't matter how big or small you are, because our best javelin thrower was a tiny kid who just had the perfect form and he could launch that thing. But yeah, I did cross country, AKA how to walk for 2 hours after school and pretend like you're running. That's all it was. Like it was more to try to stay in shape in the soccer off season, or in between indoor soccer and outdoor soccer and stuff like that. So I was never a great runner. And then it wasn't until college, I was at UW, when I hadn't done sports in college. I hadn't been able to get into the soccer team or any of that kind of stuff. So intramural sports was it. I would go to the gym and stuff like that, but I found running pretty early on in college, just as a way to get away from studies and get away from tests and get away from the place where I was living with all the roommates and everything like that. It was just a way to kind of get out and be free. And I set a goal to run the Portland Marathon on a whim. I had a couple friends that were doing it. They were like, hey, we've never run a marathon. You ever thought about doing that? I was like, I don't even know what that is. Sure, let's do it. I can do that. And I trained on my own and was slow and just put in miles. And I think the longest run I ever completed was 18 or 19 miles. And I just remember being blown away when I finished that that my body was able to do that. Like, oh my God, I ran 18 miles, just freaking out. And when the marathon came, it was the worst experience. It was so painful and hard. And, everyone has that first marathon experience. Some people's are probably amazing. Mine was far from it. I think it took me 4.5 hours or something to finish. But when I finished, it was like this. I can't believe that the human body can do this. I can't believe mine, which is, I'm not a god by any means. It was a really cool moment to know that I was able to do something like that. And then after that, I never ran again. It was like the whole rest of the year, I'm done. I did my marathon. I don't have to ever run again. That's it. I'm complete, until my friend signed up for Hood to Coast, which I know many people are familiar with Hood to Coast as being one of the most popular relay races. And they had got a car. They had got like a team in there, a couple cars or a couple vans, I guess. So they asked for another member of the team because one of them had bounced. And I was like, sure, let's train, let's do it. That was a year later, and I got into it. Like that's when I started getting back into running officially, because I loved the idea of running at night. And one of my legs was at 2 a.m. And I remember running through the woods at 2 a.m. and it's just super quiet, but then hearing like fast-paced footsteps coming behind me, and just seeing the Nike team and the Adidas team blast by, because they're always the last teams to start the race because they're always the fastest, and just getting my ass kicked by them in the middle of the night. And I was like, this is so awesome. And from that point on, I just kind of kept running in my weekly dose of exercise. I was never fast or anything like that, and didn't matter. It wasn't until I moved to Los Angeles in 2007 that I started training for another marathon, and it was the Seattle Marathon, because I was going to go back for that, and it was terrible. I had, again, a terrible marathon experience. Bonked at mile 10 because I felt so good, and I went out so fast that by mile 10 or 11, I was already ready to puke. And that's right when you start going through the city where there's just thousands of people. And I remember being so overwhelmed by the spectators. I'm like, I don't even know where to puke, because if I go to the sidelines, I'll be puking on like children. And like the last thing in my mind I wanted to see was like puke going on children's faces. So this is going through your mind. You're like, well, I just don't know logistically what to do here. And the rest of the race was just survival, and it was miserable. It was miserable.
In your defense, though, knowing the areas and knowing like the Portland Marathon and Seattle Marathon courses, kind of, those are hilly courses. They're not like flat, fast, super fast courses. The hills are definitely a big challenge there. So,
they're not Chicago.
Bonking a little early is okay. Not Chicago.
I would expect to bonk at mile 18 or 19, but at mile 10, you can't help but get mad at yourself, because you know what you did wrong at that point. It's not, oh, wow, maybe it's something I ate last night. No. If you bonk at 10, it's because you went out too fast. And I was running about 1.5 minutes faster per mile than I had trained. That's what's going to happen, at least for a non-elite, absolutely. And it was around that point that when I was living in Los Angeles at that point, and pursuing acting, and that's why I moved here, and pursuing comedy. It was basically my dream to start following that path, and I was getting work doing it. But when you are an actor, there's more time not working than there is actually working, because the time you work pays for all the time that you don't work, but you're always trying to get work, and it's a constant hustle. But during that time off, I needed hobbies, and one of the hobbies was just running. Just going for a jog through Hollywood, or going out to the beach and running along the ocean. And things started to like click. So my comedy world and my entertainment world and the running world, because I was, researching shoes and doing things that all runners do, which is researching the best gear and trying to find the best deals, and trying out different shoes and seeing what shoes worked, and knowing like, oh, I just paid $170 for this shoe. That's a piece of crap. Like, why did I waste that money? But then at the same time, I was doing YouTube, through like doing comedy videos on YouTube. And it kind of clicked. At one point in 2011, I was like, why don't I try to combine these? Because I'm loving running, I'm loving gear, and I would love to just, if I could, I would just talk about gear all the time. I'd be the guy at the party that if I heard a conversation of someone talking about training for a half marathon or something, I'd walk over and be like, what do you need to know? Like, let's talk. Let's share stories. So then I was like, why don't I be the guy that is able to deliver decent information, but with entertainment? So I can use my comedy background and just the ability to, talk in public, but then throw it into a review of a shoe. I don't even know how to start this, but let's just try. So I would review all the gear in my house, things that I would buy, and just start throwing up reviews, put them up online. The audience was minuscule, but it slowly started to gain traction. And over the years, I mean, this has been years now, and it's still slow. As you know, it's the trail, especially now that we're in trail running and like ultra running, it's even more niche than just running. So the audience has grown a lot. The community has grown a lot, but our incremental growth has just kind of been slow and steady, which I actually really like because it's allowed us to kind of stay true to the humble beginnings of like being honest with the gear and telling you exactly how it is and not selling out. And so yeah, that's kind of how it's been. The last couple of years have been completely different. I never would have thought that I'd be a guy delivering advice on shoes and gear, as well as documenting ultra marathons and running 100 miles, when 10 years ago I could barely finish the Portland Marathon or the Seattle Marathon without bonking at mile 10. Like 10 year ago me and me now is just what? It makes no sense.
No, that's a great progression. I mean, so you were at school, you were running at University of Washington.
Mhm.
Were you running on the trails, or it was mainly road running? When did you like make the switch to more trail running? I mean, I know there's great trails around LA too.
Yeah, that great question, because Seattle is so I'm in Seattle during the Scott Jurek heyday. I'm in Seattle during these like Hal Corner and all these amazing athletes are training up there and making a name for themselves in the ultra world, and the ultra world is like blossoming. But yet I have no idea who they are. It's not because I'm not plugged into the running scene. It's just because I'm not really plugged into the trail scene. I was road running. That was it, because that's all I knew. Trail didn't even cross my mind. I remember my first pair of trail shoes was sold to me at REI as being, because I knew I didn't want to get a hiking boot, right? I knew I was going to go to some mountains in Seattle for hiking. So, there's Mount Si and Cougar Mountain, Tiger Mountain, and all these big mountains out there that you can go to hike. This was at least when I was in college and stuff. But then I went to REI looking for hiking shoes, but I knew I wanted something that I could be nimble in. And they had an early pair of like a Solomon trail running shoe. It was advertised as a Solomon trail running shoe. And I remember just going, I want that one. And so I got it. And I remember trying to trail run at Mount Si, which is a notoriously difficult, but a weekender hotspot. I mean, Seattle goes there in droves on the weekends. It's 5 miles-ish up with 5,000 feet of gain. Like, those aren't the exact stats, but that's basically what it is. 5 up, 5,000, 5 down, 5,000 descent. And I remember trying to run and just going, oh no, fuck this. Like, I'm not going to run. These are now hiking shoes. And so it wasn't until I was living in Los Angeles and after I had trained for the Seattle Marathon and started training again on the roads that I was taken to a trail by a friend, and we ran the trail, and it opened my eyes to the idea of, I don't have to hike on a trail. I can actually run on a trail. And as soon as I kind of made that connection, I don't know why it took me so long, I basically discovered every trail in Los Angeles, because Los Angeles, despite people's belief of being just a sprawl of city, has incredible mountains. There are the Santa Monica Mountains, which are just riddled with hundreds of miles of trails, and then the Angeles Crest Mountains, the San Gabriels, which are just huge, going up to 10, 11,000 feet. And you can run for days out there. I quickly discovered that there was a bigger world out there than I ever could have imagined. And it's basically been trail running ever since. Yeah. Once you go trail running, you never really want to go back to road running, I feel like.
No, the road hurts. The pavement hurts. It's
yeah.
Too hard of a surface, artificially hard, unless you have Hokas on.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, you managed to do pretty good on both. You managed to, do you still find enjoyment on road runs, or is it like you do them just because you know that they're workouts?
Uh, Both. There's a satisfaction from being able to run like even mile splits sometimes on like
Yeah.
a flat surface. So like rotor track, and you're just rolling, and you just like you could hit like this even pace. And it's almost like a challenge. Like, can I run this next mile within a couple seconds of the mile I just ran?
Right.
That's kind of the satisfaction. Other than that, LA is a great town though for running. I was there for the LA Marathon last year, and then
Yeah.
uh, saw you there once. Great food scene, great beer scene, and then yeah, like you're right. You got the beach there. You could run along the beach if you want, or you just drive east a little bit, and you're at some really big mountains. Like, what's that other trail I'm trying to think of right outside of like Pasadena?
Mount Wilson.
Mount Wilson.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that trail. It's like this like nice smooth single track, but it goes up really high. You could get in 5,000 feet of vertical, and then yeah,
That's
Mount
exactly it.
Baldy, or they call it Mount San Antonio, Mount Baldy. I've been up that too, and and then Griffin Park, I think, is where you run a lot too, right?
Yeah, Griffith. Yeah, Griffith Park.
Griffin. Yeah.
Hmm.
So this great area to train.
Which is a surprise. When I moved here to do entertainment and be in the movie biz, the last thing on my mind was, oh, well, growing up in the Northwest, you can't help but want to be in touch with nature. Like it's just you grow up with green and rain in your blood. But moving to Los Angeles, I had just given up the thought that there was outdoors here. You're like, it's going to be a big city. It's LA, because I've been to New York a lot, and New York has Central Park. It has a space designated for nature. LA, I figured had something like that, but I didn't think that it had quite what it has, which is endless. I mean, there are places I have yet to explore out here just because they're deep. You can get real deep into these mountains and see some incredible things. It's
Nice. Let's
crazy.
talk
Yeah,
about
LA's big.
yeah, and the creative energy. I mean, you've what's been amazing to me is that you do all the film editing, the shooting, your own running, and capturing all these stories and product reviews, but also your own music. I mean, how'd you get into I know you're friends with Ben Gibbard of Death Cab for Cutie, and
Through
very
running, through
talented.
ultra running. Yeah.
Oh, it's through running. Okay.
Yeah.
You're a very talented musician. I mean, you got is it multiple albums now? People could
Two
check it out on
albums.
iTunes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two albums and a bunch of
Yeah,
singles.
Canterbury, and the newest
Grinds.
one is Grinds. Yeah.
Canterbury is the new one, and Grinds was the first one. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. People check those out. Check those out on iTunes. We'll link to them in the description below on the video too.
Cool.
But and you do all original music for these videos, and it sounds really good. I mean, I try to play my keyboard, and it sounds horrible.
Oh, but I love it. Don't ever stop doing it, Sage. It has been one of the best parts about your videos, and your viewers, I guarantee you, will also attest to this.
I don't know.
I will come to your videos only to hear what the latest song is, whether you're playing it or something that you've recorded before. Seriously, like you running around the house playing bass and all, dude, it's the best part. It's the best part. It's great.
Oh, thanks. So, what was the first instrument you played, and when was that? And also, with your creative energy in graphic design is also what you studied in school, right?
Yep. So I can now safely say that that Ginger Runner, which is now full time, this is the job. I don't even want to call it a job because it is everything that I've ever wanted to do in one thing, and there are zero complaints because it is funded by the viewers who enjoy the content, so they are getting more content as a result of like $1 a month or something, and I am able to basically rely on that to create as much cool stuff as possible, and it is literally the best thing possible for my like all of the things that I'm really interested in. The first instrument I played was, I think it was trumpet first and then baritone, because they're both 3-valved instruments. 5th grade is when I started playing trumpet, and then in 7th grade I moved to the baritone because there wasn't a baritone player. It's also called a euphonium. It's like a mini tuba that you hold and you have 3 valves. So I played that, and then I had a music teacher, this incredible, like, did you ever see the movie Whiplash? It's like a recent movie. Last couple of years, it won some awards. If you haven't, watch it. It's a fantastic, like, well acted movie. but I will tell you that that movie was almost like my real life. It's about a music teacher who's just really hard on students. They have the like incredible musicians. The kids are becoming incredible musicians, but he's just like hard on these kids. I had a music teacher that was that. He was a genius. He was an incredible musician, but he was hard on us. And he basically told me, "You are no longer playing trumpet or baritone. You were playing trombone." So the instrument that I really started to play was trombone, and I basically spent all my time playing that well into high school, and started playing professionally while I was in high school. I would go to local churches and play in their holiday concerts, because a lot of churches do very large holiday concerts where they'll bring in symphonies and orchestras and choirs and do these big things, and they've got big budgets. So I would go to these churches and just make hundreds and hundreds of dollars every holiday season playing as a trombone player in the band. And then I found like this even smaller niche of being a bass trombone player. So bass trombone has the slide, but it has two valves, one under your thumb and one under your finger. And they're a very specific instrument, and all big orchestras have one of them. So you have to be really good. And if you're really good, you're in every orchestra in town. So that's kind of what ended up happening while I was in high school. Was by playing bass trombone, it became a job, and it was able to kind of pay into college and stuff like that, which is really great.
Well,
But
I'm gonna interrupt you here for a
yeah,
second.
please.
As a band geek, I grew up playing band through middle school.
Mm-hmm.
What you just said shows that you were very, very talented at playing these instruments. I mean, it's very hard to make it, even at a level as a musician. I'd imagine. I don't know because I was horrible at my instrument, but
What
I
instrument
mean,
did you play?
I played alto saxophone in band.
Yes, yes.
But I also grew up playing piano. And we also know now though that you play keyboard, which is totally different from slide trombone or jazz trombone. So like the multi-talented Ethan Newberry is really coming out here, I think. I mean,
Well,
you must have been really freaking good at the trombone and the baritone. And I mean, those are a lot different from a keyboard. So that's
completely
really impressive. That's all I'm saying is that's really impressive that you're playing in
I
bands, you're playing during holiday season, in orchestras and things like that. That takes a lot of practice and dedication. Just for
and I will tell you, it
didn't grow up as band geeks.
it ruined me though. Like by having a teacher that played trombone. So he played trombone in college and high school, and he became a professional trombone player. But then when he had a student that he was relying on to be him, it was awful, man. Like the requirements to be the best in his band, plus all the private lessons and everything that I needed to then have. A lot of this was to try to get scholarships for college. The more that you can prove that you are really unique in a way, a college will go, "Oh yeah, we need that. Rice is done. We need that person in our orchestra," and stuff like that. But I started to hate it. I started to resent it, and I also grew up playing piano because my parents just had a piano in the house. I never took lessons, and I never really cared. It just was something I could go home and like mess around on and not worry about being the best or any. I'd never learned how to read the music. I just would play, and that's why I play that more now, is because I don't resent the instrument. I don't hate it. It's because it's always been something that I could just do and enjoy, rather than, if you're not the best, you don't go to college. And if you don't go to college, you fail. It's all that kind of stuff. By the way, my parents are amazing. By no means were my parents like, you've got, like you're locked in your room until you finish those lessons, or, none of that. My parents are very supportive, obviously. But I just couldn't handle the pressure of trying to be this incredible trombone player. So I got real tired of it. By the time I went to college, I stopped playing music cold turkey. Basically just never picked up the trombone again. I gave it to my nephew when he was going through high school, and he would play it, and then to my other nephew, and we still have it. It's just a family pass down. I haven't played it in 5-10 years, and that was only because I picked it up when I saw it sitting at home and was like, can this still make noise? That was it. Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I could see that being hard. And it's hard when you're like such a creative person, which you obviously are. You've got a lot of creative energy. So to be like kind of in that, rut where it's, forced, not forced, but like very, regimented practice, and you have to play this one instrument, you have to do this, and
Yeah.
play in certain style of music, or play in certain competitions or certain performances. It that kind of like regimented pressure environment kind of goes against being creative and wanting to
Yeah.
do your own things, explore your own interests. So going into University of Washington, very good school. My parents went there for a while, actually. They
That's
lived
cool.
in
I didn't know that.
yeah, after Colorado. But going into that, you did get more creative because you started studying like graphic design, right? Am I correct?
Yeah, it was so my mom is an interior designer, and she would always have drafting tools and pens and art supplies in the house. So growing up, art was just a part of everything in the house. Um, and I think something with that kind of stuck with me, like just having having lots of paper to draw on and lots of paper to use like colored pencils and to create whatever I wanted on. So when I was in college, college is isn't necessarily for everyone, but I think what college needs to be is a place to explore and figure out what you really want. When I went to college, I was like, I got to be in the business school, or I got to follow these certain paths because my friends are doing it, or because I know it's going to make me the most money, or it's going to make me the most successful. It took me 3 years to learn it, but by the third year I went, that's not what this is about. College for me isn't about going to business school. I took accounting and I dropped out halfway through because I could not get the language. I just could not process accounting. And when I did that, I was like 4.0 student in high school and all that stupid nerdy stuff. So by the time I had to drop out of a class and felt like a complete failure, you have to reassess. And I reassessed very quickly and went, this isn't what I want to do. I am finally an adult. What do I really want to do? Let's try doing this graphic design thing. Let's try doing a combination of both the creative and the art side and the business side, because you have to be your own business, or you have to play in the interworkings of a business. But you also get to be creative, and you get to work with big brands, and you get to do cool stuff. So that's what I did. I created my own major because UW, I don't know if they still have it, but at the time they had a very unique communications major that you could design yourself, because the communications department at one point was huge. It was like a broadcast journalism and filmmaking major, but then it got budget cuts, and it became a much smaller communications department where you could study mass media, and then they had a sub department that no one knew about where you could create your own major. So I was a communications mass media major, but with a design and user interface specialty, I guess. It was a basement floor in this communications building. Was this? I don't remember his name, and I wish I did, because he basically allowed me to do what I was doing. But it was this kind of nerdy computer guy, a little bit larger, had Mountain Dew cans on his desk for like 100 cans from weeks of work, and he would sit in this dungeon space, and he had a computer lab that just was full of the top of the line computers from the time. He was somehow able to persuade the university to give him all these computers. He had no students in the lab. And so I would go down there and was like, hey, you have this independent study major, right? He goes, yeah. So for 3 quarters in a row, you can do whatever you want. I was like, that's perfect. Because my senior year, I'd like to do whatever I want. He goes, all you need to do is after 3 quarters is show me that you're doing something, like have a project. And I went, great. My senior project is to come up with a demo reel. My demo reel would have graphics, so I could apply with my demo reel for graphics jobs. And he's like, that's great. Sure, whatever. Learn. So for a year, I got to teach myself Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, After Effects. I got to teach myself every computer program that I'd ever dreamed of learning, not having a teacher, basically teaching myself. And had, by the end of that year, it was a shitty one, but it was a demo reel that I then took to a local. It was a company that had put out on Craigslist looking for contract designers. Motion graphics designers is what they were looking for. And I was like, I can do this because I did it for a year. Gave him my demo reel. The guy was like, you don't have a lot of work experience, do you? I was like, nope, I don't have any. And he said, well, your job is very entry level. It'll be a lot of like dumb work, but if you're willing to put in the hours, we'll bring you in. And I signed up right then and there. and within a couple of years moved up. It was a brand new company, and they were creating DVD games. The board games were called Scene It, which was very popular for many years. It became Toy of the Year one year, and it is no longer around. The company is now defunct. But I started when there were maybe 20 employees, and it grew to 200 and some employees at one point. And during that duration, I'd moved from bottom of the barrel contract designer to full-time art director. So then I was creating games after years and years of work. And it taught me everything. Everything I know now in graphic design, editing, and everything like that. My bosses there taught me all of that. And yeah, that's where I basically got all the skills to create stuff on the computer, out of my head, translating from what's in my head onto the computer.
Oh man, that's an amazing story, and that's really cool to hear your background. I mean, you could see, the experience and talent come out in your work on your YouTube videos, just the attention to detail, the storytelling ability, but also the graphics and effects. Like I'm just like, I watch your videos and it's like, I don't know how he did that, but I know it took a long time probably. And so, yeah, it's really cool to hear that, and to combine it, with a passion for running, and then using, media experience, marketing, business experience as well. And just kind of the creative energy of doing your own thing, being your own boss now, while being able to get in some running on the side. And I don't want to take up too much of your time, Eric, because I know you got rice cooking, the rice.
I have nothing to do. I just wish I had a beer.
Yeah. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow should be.
Yeah, we'll go get more
beer. Yeah. You did make the podium in, I believe, your last race. So let's talk about that. I watched the video. It was a 12-hour race. So it's just a time race, right? 12 hours. See how many loops you could complete in this. It looked like it was a park with it was a 1.5 mile loop, was it? And you just
1.9
over and over.
1.95 mile loop. Yeah.
Okay, and you got good video footage of it.
Yeah.
It had some hills and stairs, and it was, challenging. And you were, you were either second or third overall.
Third overall.
Yeah. Podium finish. Tell us about that experience.
There were no Sage candidates. There were, no Rob Krars. There were no, major elite competitors there. But it was. Well, one, the race is super unique. I don't know if you've done a timed race before. I don't know if you have.
No.
I hadn't either. And so my big thing was, people have talked about this a long time. Since I've been doing Ginger Runner, people are like, oh, you need to try people have really reached out and said, you need to try a 24-hour race or a 48-hour race. These really long ones where you're running around a track. And a part of that, I was just like, not interested. But my friends put this on and they were like, hey, we do this. It's a 12-hour thing. It's a 470-foot gain loop, about 2 miles. It's the most challenging 12-hour race you will do, but it's in this beautiful park and it's in Seattle. And I was like, sign me up. Kim actually turned me on to it. She's like, I'm going to sign up for this thing. I was like, I want to do it. So we both signed up. And this year has just been tough with injuries and stuff for both Kim and I, and also just getting our trail stoke back. We kind of had a low point during the summer when injuries both hit us, and we kind of lose that stoke when you're kind of down for the count. And so we were kind of debating, do we still want to train for this? Is this still a thing? So we just kind of slowly built up training wise. We didn't do anything big. I think the longest run I did all summer was an 18 or 19 mile run. And it was great. It was really fun. It was with a friend, but it wasn't like, oh, I'm back. I didn't feel like I was back to my huge mileage per week self. So I was still nervous about this 12-hour race, just going, I guess I have general fitness. We'll see how it goes. And it was one of the coolest experiences ever, because what happened during this race, I imagine happens to someone like you, and it happened to me in other races, but not quite as severe. You're able to pinpoint exactly when it starts and when it ends, when you kind of black out. When you go into the running zone, the running zen zone, where you no longer process stuff. In the moment you are, but then, hours later you go, what happened between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m.? Those 5 hours are gone. So that's what happened with Karkik. It's called the Karkik 12-hour. Is the first 4 hours were just annoying because you're seeing the same loop over and over again. And it's a hard loop. There's stairs and it's muddy. It's pouring down rain. And then at some point, I just kind of looked at my watch and went, "Oh, it's 4 p.m. I only have 2 hours left. Like, how many loops can we get in 2 hours?" And so all day, I was consistent. All day, I was just consistent. It was like 25 or 26-minute loops, nothing crazy, just a consistent loop. And by having the ability to start super slow and do a 25 or 26-minute loop, it allowed me to just kind of let my body roll at that pace the entire day, as opposed to, bonk at hour 8 and then have to survive for 4 hours. I was just able to kind of stay consistent. My body definitely fought me the last, I'd say, 3 hours. My body was just like, "You haven't done this in a long time. You have not run this long in a long time. I think you're done." And that's when you really just kind of had to focus on one step at a time. And yeah, ended up getting third overall, which blows my mind. I think the record on the course is 62 miles or something like that in 12 hours, by I think it's either Adam Huey or Gary Robbins, but it's a stout record. Like, it's obvious that this is a tough course. And I ended up getting 48.6 or 49 miles. So I was
Nice.
very
Wow.
far off from the record, but I'm really
That's
pleased.
really good though. I mean,
Yeah.
that's quite a bit of elevation gain when you think of how short the loop is. And I know a lot
Yeah.
of it was like stairs and it was kind of slick and you said it was pouring down rain. And so
Yeah.
that's really cool. Sounds like you found like a state of flow.
That was it.
You
Yeah. It
kind of
was like
like
five
disconnect from the
hours.
pain. And then the pain hits you the last 3 months or 3 hours. But
I think it was
sounds like a great
48.
race. And yeah,
Yeah, it was great.
making the podium too. That's an impressive performance.
We'll say
I
podium. The prize was a DVD of The Wolf, the movie The Wolf with Jack Nicholson and Michelle Pfeiffer. So the podium is, what it is. It's not like it's a $10,000 check or anything like that. Speaking of which, I hope you go for the money next week.
Yeah, I'll try my best. It'll be a stacked race. I always love coming out to California to race.
Yeah, man.
But one final question before I let
Sure.
you go here. Uh, when and how did you meet Kim?
Oh man, I hope I don't cry during this. Love this woman to death. We met on MySpace, which it's an absolute a period of time when I say that we met on MySpace that you go, "Oh yeah, you guys met in 2007, huh?" We met in 2007. She found me and stalked me on MySpace. And when a girl like Kim reaches out and messages you, and you see a picture, and you go, it was love at first sight. Let's say that. Yeah, we basically did a long distance relationship. She lived in Vancouver at the time. I had just moved to Los Angeles. In fact, I think when we first met, I was moving, like in the process of moving. So yeah, it was back in 2007, and we did long distance for the duration, for years. And then it was 2 years ago that I asked her to, well, it was 3 years, that I asked her to marry me. And we've now been married for a year and a half, year and a half ish. And it's been awesome. It's been amazing. And best partner in crime. She's a runner. She kicks ass. She's independent and strong, and she like supports me like nobody's business. And yeah, she's the best thing that happened to me ever.
Yeah, and helps you on all the behind the scenes work on Ginger Runner and in most of the
Completely.
Ginger Runner interviews. Yeah, uh,
Yeah.
so it's just really cool to see. I mean, great people too. I've met when you guys came out to Boulder and we got to visit and hang out. You guys are just so down to earth and friendly and kind, genuine people.
Thanks,
And
dude.
that's just part of being in the running community and being in the creative energy that you guys just are a big part of making the sport just a really positive life experience for so many people, and it's really refreshing to see. So
Thanks, man.
yeah,
And same to you. Again, back to the bromance. It's you are unique in that you not only kick ass, but you're also like one of the most humble, down to earth people as well. Anyone can come up to you and talk to you about anything, whether it's about, hey, I just started running, I need some help, or if it's, I'm a big fan, like you're always accessible, and that's awesome. And you're fighting for our sport too, which I think is super unique, and we need more of that, fighting for clean sport and dedication to it. And I think that's really rad, dude. And don't let down, don't stop. don't let
No,
anything happen
thanks.
to stop that.
You
Because
helped, yeah, you helped promote it too. I saw the Clean Sport pledge that you did too, and so I think
yeah, that's
that
easy.
was
Like
really
that's a
cool to
no
see.
brainer. You know what
It's
I mean?
for
Like that's
everyone. I mean,
yeah,
it's
it's a
all
no
part of the
brainer
community.
for
Yeah,
sure.
so yeah, well, really appreciate you doing that. Really appreciate all the high quality films and videos coming out from your channel. Again, thanks so much for being on the Sage Running podcast here and taking out your time. I know you're a very busy man and you're always working really
No
hard on
problem,
stuff. A lot of
man.
late nights, a lot of hardcore video editing and meeting people, screening films, working around the clock. I know, it's a full-time job and you really put in the work and it shows in the quality of your films. So,
There's nothing I'd rather be
really
doing.
exciting,
So
positive energy for the sport. Again, for my followers that don't follow Ethan already, go follow him, go check him out. The Ginger Runner. He's easy to find online if you want to stalk him. Uh, but yeah, thanks so much for being on again, Ethan. I really, really appreciate
you
it.
got it,
And
man.
it's great
Anytime.
to talk to you about your background and learn about the inspiration behind the channel and all the work that you do now. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Sage.
All right. And for my listeners, definitely stay tuned for more Sage Running podcasts.